of you coming by now, so yes! We finally did it. I am going to have a sip of bubble tea just to celebrate. What bubble tea did I get? May you ask. I got Cha Time, obviously. I got jasmine milk tea, which is not something that I would normally get, but people have been telling me that jasmine milk tea is where it's at. I decided to give it a shot, and they were not wrong. I did make a mistake though. I said no ice because, you know, I'm Asian and I want to maximize the amount of actual value I'm getting, and ice just waters everything down. And no sugar was where my mistake was. So I thought that the herbal jelly would sweeten things up, but it's really not. So next time I'll remember to add more sugar. Thank you so much for being here. Here I am going on a rant about bubble tea. Let me move this over here. So basically today is just I guess, get to know each other. I feel like at the start of each year, there's always a new cohort of students, and it's always great to sort of catch up again and see where you guys are at. It's also an opportunity for you guys to ask me any questions you have about anything related to your ATAR, VCE, English studies, or just general study advice. Or, you know, I'm a few years older than you guys, so I've been giving more life advice style adulting tips on this channel recently. So if you've got any questions about that, feel free to ask through. So yeah, don't forget to, you know, ask your questions in the Q&A. But yeah, in case you're here for the first time and you don't know me, I'm just going to do a very quick intro. My name's Lisa. I'm the founder of Lisa Study Guides. It used to be called VCE Study Guides, but Vika came to me one day and was like, I'm gonna sue you if you keep using our trademark VCE. So that stressed me out for a period of time, and for the longest time I was trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to replace VCE Study Guides with? What am I going to call this business? I have no idea. And I had a deadline, and that was like June 2016, and the deadline just kept getting closer and closer, and I was getting nowhere further ahead with my decision of what to call this company. In the end, it was a last minute decision. I was literally at the accountants and they were asking me, what are you going to call it? And I just blurted out, Lisa Study Guides. And at the time I was like, oh, you know, this is so egotistical. Like, oh, how up myself. I'm calling it Lisa Study Guides. But also I was thinking, okay, we need to get rid of this name eventually because I don't want people to think that I'm up myself. And obviously it's 5 years later, 6 years later, and the name has stuck. So that's the story behind Lisa's Study Guides. Name, at the very least. In terms of what I do here, I basically started a blog when I was 19. I wanted to help people with their English studies because I somehow ended up getting a 45 out of 50 in English, which was absolutely bizarre to me. It was crazy. And so I thought, if I could do this, surely I can help people who don't think that they can do well in English, because somehow I did it. So yeah, that's how it all sort of started. It started as a blog. I eventually moved into growing a private tutoring side of it, and then eventually study guides, and then eventually this YouTube channel. And look where we are today. I've got hundreds of videos and helping thousands of people, and I hope that you're one of them. Shanti says, don't have bubble tea, but do have licorice bush. Oh, licorice bullets. I don't know why I'm stumbling on that word. Yum. I don't like licorice normally, but if it's a flavored one, I can do that. Okay, so I had posted on Instagram and asked whether or not you guys had a few questions for me. As you can see here, hopefully you can see it. And I did have a few questions come through, so I'm going to start by answering some of them, and hopefully that will encourage you guys to continue to ask more questions. So the first one comes from Rayma, and she asked, can you get a good ATAR with humanities subjects? So my answer to this is yes, though I suppose there are caveats. I think with humanities subjects, the reason why this question is being asked is because it often gets scaled downwards. And if it's being scaled down, then it means that you sort of have, a harder chance of getting that 99.95. Let's say if that's what you're going after. It's fine if you have another ATAR you're going after. Don't worry, I'm not about the 99.95. I don't mind if you're going for a 90 or an 80 or whatever it is. I think you set your own goals, and if you can achieve them, then that's a hell yeah from me, right? So with humanities, yeah, it can be tougher in that sense because subjects are often scaled down. But I think at the end of the day, you have to think about what your strengths are. If you are choosing a subject over your humanities subjects, so maybe like maths, for example, because you think that it's going to scale upwards and it's going to help you with your marks, it might not be the best idea, especially if you don't really enjoy maths. If you enjoy geography or if you enjoy human and health development, then there's a more likely chance that you're actually going to fare better in that because you're going to be invested. You care about the subject. So I think those are some of the things that you should think about. If you've already chosen your subject, just work as hard as you can to achieve your goals. And I think don't stress too much about, whether or not you're going to get a good ATAR. Good is rather subjective as well. So good to you might be really good to somebody else. Hey Nasli, thanks for being here. Thanks for everything. All the videos are really helpful. Oh, I'm really glad. Please let me know what you guys want to see this year as well. I've lined up a whole bunch of text response videos, planning to do a text response essay, how to write an essay essentially, and break that down into several videos. Then in term 2, we'll move into analyzing argument. Some people call it language analysis. And we're going to go through, I think, this is what my plan is, VCA past exams. So we'll go through 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, so that you get, someone else's interpretation of those articles. And then from there, we're going to move into comparative, which is when you compare two texts. Got some really exciting stuff coming out then. And yeah, I think speckled through that. I'm going to experiment with some more creative videos. I think that, school's really great at teaching you specific texts, but often these texts show us more about life. So if a book touches on racism, for example, yeah, you can study the text, but if you actually know more about what racism means in our real world, how it affects us, then I think you're going to be able to take a lot more into your text and offer a more unique interpretation. So I really want to start creating more of those type of videos where it's more sort of taking a theme from a book, extracting it from the book, so we're just talking about the idea more generally, more holistically. And I think this sort of approach to doing things will hopefully help you gel the ideas even better and for you to appreciate your text more and actually enjoy English more. Kanisha says, can you post more videos about text response? Girlfriend. I'm going to have a lot coming out, so don't you worry. Women of Troy. Yes, actually, we have, I'm just going to have a look at my blog really quickly. We create so much content, so I forget what's out. But if it's not out already, okay, it's not out yet, but we've been working on it. We have a couple of blog posts coming out for Women of Troy, specifically breaking down essay topics. So watch out for those. That's something I can guarantee you for sure. In terms of the videos, I will keep it juicy and, keep you on the surprise. How long should you study for in year 11? asks Vasna. Really good question. If every year I always get questions like, how long should I study for? Or how many hours should I study for? I actually had one on Instagram here as well from Jenny. She asked, how many hours of English study should you do per day? And I hate being annoying, but I'm gonna be annoying and say that it's not about the amount of time that you invest in a subject. It's about the quality of the work. So yes, for some people, it might work for you to be like, okay, I'm going to sit down for 1 hour and I'm going to smash out some work for this 1 hour, because that actually forces you to set aside time for this particular subject. But if you're approaching it from I'm going to do X number of hours every single day and I'm not going to have any flexibility around that, and even if I'm feeling super tired, super unmotivated, I'm going to push through, I think it takes time to understand what works for you. But I know for me personally, if I'm just not feeling it and I've tried, I've put in 20 minutes already, but it's just not happening, then I will just let it go. And I think that's okay. So I think the biggest takeaway here is to experiment. If you think to yourself, okay, 1 hour of English study per day is what's going to be most effective for me, test it. So do it for a week, and at the end of the week, reflect on how you've gone. Have you gone through as much as you wanted? Did it make you feel stressed? Did it make you feel like you achieved something? Was it as productive as you thought it would be? So these are the type of questions you should be asking yourself consistently throughout the year, because that's how you become a better studier. A lot of, I guess, when we think about the Atar, we also need to think about not just the study itself, but how effectively we're studying as well. So I've got a couple of videos coming out soon, how to study consistently and how to study effectively. So studying smarter, but not necessarily studying more. So hopefully that will help you guys out. Kanisha says, love your last video. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. It was actually really fun to film. So if you guys are doing oral presentation, I filmed a video for that, did lots of B-roll, so that was really entertaining for myself as well. I know it says for Zoom edition, but I think a lot of the tips there are just relevant for anyone, no matter what you're studying. No matter whether or not you're doing in person or over the camera. Hey Trevor! Okay. Alan says, should you do a subject that is a uni prerequisite even if you may not need it? For example, chem. I think this is a great question. Again, there are pros and cons you need to weigh up, right? I think at the end of the day, the real question is, how much do you value having your options open? If you're someone who knows that you just have no idea what you want to do in uni and you really do value having that option open, then yeah, go and do chem. But if you figure, you know what, I'm okay with not getting into a uni course that requires chem, or if you think to yourself, that's fine, I'm happy to do sort of a more general course to begin with, and then later on in uni, switch courses, I'd rather go that way, then those are a couple of different options for you. So yeah, have a think about it. Sarah says, what's your favorite Shakespeare book? Sarah, I might have to break your heart and say that I actually don't really like Shakespeare. Oh, I feel like people are going to roast me for that. Teacher's gonna hate me for it. But yeah, to be honest with you guys, I find Shakespeare really challenging, and I know I'm not alone. Like, when you read Shakespeare, I always have to have an English translation of it and then the Shakespeare book itself. So I'm reading two things at once, kind of reading two books at once, essentially. And I don't know, it just doesn't tickle my fancy, essentially. Whereas Celine asked a question about All the Light We Cannot See, and I love that book. It was written in modern English, but it's like a 500-page book. Okay, maybe it's like 300, can't remember. But yeah, like, I guess you just like what you like and some things you don't like. And, you know, there are some books in the syllabus that I prefer more than others. So, yeah, I'm so sorry, Sarah. Okay, let's see what other questions. Oh, you guys are asking so many questions now. I felt like the live chat was a little bit quiet before, but you guys are coming through, so thank you for that. I really appreciate it. It's always a little nerve-wracking, you know, like, oh, is anyone going to join the live stream? But you guys have, which makes me really happy, so thanks. I'll answer Celine's question really quickly. Do you have any ideas related texts that the novel could be compared to? So, Celine, I suppose I sort of answered this question before about keep an eye out for the videos that I will come out with, which are more general ideas based. I think you'll find a lot of value in them. Okay. Let's see what else you guys have got to say. Do you guys like bubble tea? Or is it just me? Marcus says, out of curiosity, how important is Shakespearean text to you? Do you study it in VCE? It's important if you're studying Shakespeare as one of your texts. Okay. Jenny asks, what separates a student from getting a 40? So I suppose this question rephrased is, what separates a student who gets 40 and above from someone who gets lower than that? I think there's, again, a tough answer to, it's a tough question to just like wrap up nicely and be like, here's the golden key and just give it to you and, you know, you automatically get 40. I think though, the people who I've worked with, my students, the tutors who've joined me on my team, what I've noticed is people who intend to get 40 and they've got that goal, they're extremely driven. They're not going to let things get them down. So for example, if they get a SAC result back and it's not as great as they hoped it would be, yes, they'll get down about it, but they'll brush it off and they'll keep going. It's not just like a, you know, throw table, like that's it, I'm giving up on this subject forever. They keep going and they keep reviewing their mistakes, they keep finding ways to improve, and they keep experimenting. I think the people who, just as a bonus, who score on the topmost end, 45 and above, those people never feel like, sorry, I don't want to say never because that makes it seem like it's always the case. That's not true. I think to generalize things, people who get 45 and above tend to seem to know that there's always more to learn and they've always got that curiosity about them. They're always keen to find out new ways of doing things, find out how they can better their own way of doing things. They never become complacent. So that's what I want you to remember when it comes to your studies as well. Okay. Thanks for all your questions about can I create a video and things. I won't answer them, but you know, they help me a lot in shaping what I should do. Ma asks, do you reckon that memorizing text response and comparative paragraphs is effective for the exam? I would say yes and no. I've done a video on this about memorizing text. I got roasted for that as well because people didn't watch the rest of the video and they were just like, oh, how dare you condone just memorizing text. And I was like, I didn't say you should memorize like an essay all the time. So essentially there's like many schools of thoughts when it comes to memorizing a text. I guess the short answer, and then I'll direct you to the video if you wanted to like have a more in-depth answer, is I don't think you should ever memorize an essay just because, you know, you don't feel like writing up an essay yourself or you don't think you're smart enough. to write one. So you're just going to copy one from a study guide or copy one from your tutor. Like, that's not how you're going to improve, and that's not what's going to help you in the exam. You're going to be thrown with questions that you've never seen before, and you need to learn how to adapt to the question that's in front of you. That's really, I guess, the skill that you need to have at that point in time, because by the time you're in an assessment, a SAC or exam, you should already know all the knowledge. You should have memorized your quotes, your pieces of evidence. But what changes is the question that's in front of you. So your adaptability to the question in front of you needs to be rather strong. If you can adapt well, then you're going to do well. So you need to find ways of how can I adapt well to new questions that come up, and I've never seen them before and I need to write on them straight away. So I think about that in the months leading up to your exam. So one way you could be more adaptable, for example, is to potentially have like a theme, and then certain quotes that you'll always come back to when a topic touches on that theme. See how that's not really like, perfectly memorizing an essay, but you're sort of packaging up pieces of knowledge so that you can use them for the right essay topic that's in front of you. So you might have a package here of themes based on love. You might have a package here on a theme based on family. And then if the essay topic is about family, you would use this package over here. Just giving you examples, Let me know if that answers your question. Kathy has a really great question. Given that top 4 subjects contribute most to your ATAR, should you prioritize them? Or should you spend time equally on all of your subjects? So I think it is a strategy to prioritize your top 4 subjects, and I'm actually all for it. It was actually something I did when I was in year 12. So I prioritized, actually, let's start from the beginning. At the start of year 12, I sort of spent time equally on my subjects. And then as the year went on, I noticed that my literature and my specialist maths results were just very low in comparison to my other subjects. And so I thought to myself, okay, you know what? This is like by the time it was September, so we're starting to study for exams. I thought, I'm just going to drop literature and spesh now. I will study them in the days leading up to the exam, but honestly, I'm just going to focus on English, methods, chem, and what was my 4th subject? I can't even remember anymore. Oh my god. Okay, 4th subject. And that really paid off, to be honest. I got a 45 in English, which I would have never imagined, as I said. So yeah, I think if you do what's most comfortable for you as well. For me, I knew there was a clear distinction between my top 4 and my bottom 2. Whereas let's say like if you have 5 subjects that seem to all fare pretty well and you don't know which one would be in your top 4, maybe you'd still focus on the 5. So yeah, think about your situation and what works best for you. Did you guys see that? Maybe I shouldn't be drinking herbal jelly on a live stream. Dennis says, how do I keep my indoor plants alive? I fail horribly unless they're in terrarium. Yeah, so I water them once a week and that's about it. I leave them alone. It's pretty good running. My cat has been killing a lot of my plants though. She seems to enjoy biting the leaves, which makes me really sad. But yeah, otherwise you can purchase like self-watering pots. So basically, I think by the action of capillary action, when the plant requires water, it will just grab up water from the roots. Good luck, James. Do you guys raise plants? Or is it just like an adulting thing? Hey Tech, of course this video will go live afterwards, don't you worry. Alana says, how do I know which quotes are important for the essay? You have to be the judge of that. So a quote is important if you deem it to be important. So you actually have something to say about that quote, for one, and you feel like that quote backs up your contention or your argument very well. So I know English is tough in that sense, like a lot of times there's no right answer. We've actually been developing a LSG strategy during the summer holidays. So you guys might have heard of think and execute, which is one of them. There's convergent and divergent, but we've also developed the BBT strategy as well, actually named after bubble tea. And that sort of teaches you how you can figure out which pieces of evidence is what you want to be using for your unique interpretations. Because at the end of the day, we want to stand out from everyone else, right? You don't just want to say the same stuff as what's being taught in your class. So yeah, keep your eye out for that. It's also going to be in all of our study guides as well. So just a bit of a plug. Okay. Have you guys been enjoying, or have you guys been watching any of my non-VC related stuff, by the way? I'm really curious to know whether or not you have, if you find them interesting, or if you're just like, meh, I'm just here for the VC stuff. Let me know. I am curious. Okay. I'm going to answer another question from Instagram. So Dax asked, what should I do right after school to keep myself busy? I drain so much after school. I think if you are drained after school, you shouldn't have to try to keep yourself busy. You should listen to your body and you should listen to what it's telling you. If you're feeling drained, it's because you need a moment to just take a break, and that is okay. It's actually something that I have also been going through myself, like listening and trusting my body more and hearing it when I'm feeling exhausted or when I'm feeling stressed, and recognizing that is actually a skill in itself, and then understanding what you should be doing to help yourself out, to help yourself rejuvenate, to reinvigorate yourself. I did a video actually recently about what I've learned from seeing a psychologist for a year, and I talk a little bit about that. So if you wanted to go and watch that video, I'd really recommend it. Yeah, like I feel like I went really vulnerable with that video, and I learned a lot from seeing a psych last year, so I hope you guys will benefit from that too. Yeah, like some of the examples of things you can do: go and take a walk, sleep, have a nap if you want to, if you don't get enough sleep. I know a lot of like VC students just don't get enough sleep. You know, wind down, watch some TV, have a snack, allow yourself a break. I think that's the biggest thing. If you don't allow yourself a break, that's when burnout happens. That's, yeah, just not cool, right? CC says, any advice for managing anxiety in VCE? There are like lots of different videos out there, I'm sure, about how to manage anxiety. And I don't claim to be an expert, but I can share with you some of the ways that I deal with it myself in my own life. So I think the first thing is just, yeah, again, like that recognition, recognizing that you're feeling anxious, taking a deep breath, and I guess in my head, what I mean by recognizing is I sort of label it as I'm feeling anxious. And as soon as I am able to say that to myself, it sort of takes the power of the anxiety away. Whereas if you sort of just let it take over you and run over you, you're just going to move through your days feeling super anxious. And I'm sure you've had that feeling before, and it's not nice, right? But I think ironically, when you're feeling anxious, it's probably because you're feeling like rushed, or you feel like frantic or stressed in some way. But when you take a step back and actually pause, take a breath, meditate if you're into that. Taking a breath is essentially meditating. Then I think it just gives you that opportunity to slow down and go, okay, what am I stressed about? What can I do about this situation? And I think that's the first step to managing anxiety. People do it in all different sorts of ways, but that's how I do mine. I'm also really big on like yoga. I'm really big on extracurricular activities as well. So I recently started BJJ, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a type of martial art. I started picking up singing. Don't worry guys, I'm not going to post any singing videos. I feel like I've seen so many YouTubers do that and I'm just like, shh, don't tell them. Yeah. Hope that helps, Cece. Ness says, what do you think is a good study to break ratio? Again, this is totally up to you. Trust yourself, trust your body, and it's going to be different day to day. Just because you need only a 1 hour break today, it could mean that tomorrow you only need half an hour, Hey, Mari. Okay. I'm going to stay on for another 10 minutes or so feel free to ask any of your remaining questions. Mainly because I'm using a new camera and I'm not sure when its battery dies. So if I just cut off, you know why. Johnson says, whenever my teacher writes notes on the board, I usually copy them in my notebook, but sometimes I actually sketch her watermelons. Any tips on focusing? This is why I'm not a teacher. I feel like if I was a teacher, I wouldn't be able to respond to a question like this. Look, I'm not sure about the watermelons. I am sorry or not sorry for you. Not really sure what to say there either. But in terms of focusing, I actually want to tell you more about just like how I've been trying to focus in my own life. And hopefully that gives you some idea. But essentially I feel like, we just have the shortest attention span. And I know that because literally when I'm watching a video on YouTube, I'm scrolling and reading through comments, not even paying attention to the video, or I'm scrolling through and looking for the next video to line up, right? There's just all these new features that are constantly being added that constantly get us to have trigger finger, like just constantly going. So what I've intentionally tried to do is in small places here and there, I'll try to maximize my focus, maximize my attention span. So when I watch a video, I try to be mindful and actually watch the video instead of scrolling through the comments. When I have multiple tabs open and a tab is loading, rather than like if I've just opened a tab and it's loading, rather than just going back to another tab because I'm impatient and I'm just trying to read through everything, I'll actually just wait for it and use that time to take a breath, take a breather, take a moment. And I know that it's not directly answering your, how do I focus on my teacher and what they're saying, but I think it's small things like this that you do in your own daily life that can contribute to you having a longer focus and attention on one thing. So yeah, I hope that helps. Okay. No problems, Johnson. Okay. How long did it take you to finish all your school homework before you started to study? By Halish. If you're asking about like year 12, I finished basically all my homework by the time it was September, and I started studying for my exams during term 3 holidays. That's mainly because, you know, that's when your school finishes teaching you stuff. Shay says, can you work full-time and pursue a degree? You can absolutely. You can also do the degree part-time if that's what works for you. Yeah. Okay. I'm just scrolling back now and looking through any questions that I might have missed. I'm sorry if I missed your questions. Sometimes the live chat moves a little bit quicker than I anticipate. I'd recommend you guys sign up to my mailing list as well. I publish, I send out one email each week. I never try to spam. I just want to help you guys. So essentially I'll update you on what new videos have come out, any new blogs as well, anything new that's been happening at LSG. So if we've got any study guides, anything to do with like private tutoring, if you're interested in that type of thing. And also I just tell you a little bit about my personal life too, because, you know, your girl likes to overshare. So yeah. Arena says, just purchase your guides for my year 12 son. Brilliant resources. Thank you so much, Arena. That means a lot. Yeah, I think the study guides are probably one of my proudest achievements to date. I really, really, really think we make a difference with our study guides. So thank you. More study guides on their way up this year as well. So if there's a text that you haven't seen from us, you may very well see it. Tarun says, what ADA did you get? I got 97.25. Woo! For some people, that's just like, oh, that's not enough. That's not good. For others, they're like, hell yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, that's what I got. I wanted to get so initially, this is like the terrible thing that I do to myself. Before I went into VC, I thought, you know, if I can get over 90, I'm gonna be so happy with myself. And then as I went into year 12, I was getting good marks. So I thought, okay, if I can get over 95, I'm gonna be really happy with myself. And then as the year went on, I was still getting good marks. So I thought to myself, if I can get over 98, I'm going to be really happy. And so I just kept creating this rat race of wanting more and wanting more and wanting more. And I talked about this actually in my video called You Got Your ATAR, Now What? And which came out quite recently actually. And yeah, like at the end of the day, I actually wasn't even happy that I got 97.25 because I wanted 98. But if I look back at my year 11 self, she would have been so thrilled. So yeah, try not to make the mistakes that I did. Try not to be too hard on yourself. Haida says, where do we buy guides? Sign up to the mailing list. So you can buy the guides basically in my description box. I always have heaps of resources in there for you, but there's a link to my mailing list where you can just fill out a form, including your email, your name. You guys know how it works. And then that's how I'll be able to send you emails each week. In regards to the study guides, I have a shop page. So there's also links down there for you, and then you can just, have a look and see what works. You can also download a sample, you can preview a sample of my study guides as well, so you can find out if it's the right fit for you. Okay. I think I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys found this chat valuable. I really appreciate you guys being here, and in the next few weeks I've got quite a number of text response videos coming out. And yeah, like you can find me on Instagram. I've got a personal Instagram as well, and if you guys see me on the street or whatever, come say hi. I love it when people come say hi. When I was at BJJ the other day, a girl actually came up to me and was like, "Lisa's study guides," and I was like, yes.